All right, we're back. If you stuck with us for that wait, thank you. You must be very loyal to us, and we appreciate that. Round 4 is ready to go. Julian Knobs here with me for his last round of the day, and then we'll bring in Devin O'Donnell for the rest of day 1 of this event. Julian, we've got Elves in the late CC this round, one of them anyway. And so my question is, you talked before about how there's not as many Elves in the deck as there used to be.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
many years did you campaign for Quarian Ranger to be an elf ranger, right? And then as soon as it gets changed, you guys kick him out of the deck?
I think it's been 9 years. I'm pretty sure it's been 8 or 9 years ever since that Ranger thing became a creature type. Yeah. At this point, there's actually a discussion in the Legacy community going on whether this is even supposed to be like called Elves anymore. Previously, the biggest difference between the traditional Elves deck was the presence of Elfish Reclaimer or not. But if we're gonna see this over the course of the game. We are not playing Glimpse of Nature anymore, which used to be one of the things that a traditional Elves deck would play. I think people sometimes call it Maverick Elves. I sometimes call it like Nickfoot Elves, because this deck, it still has one thing that it can do to get you out of nowhere, and that still is Natural Order, right? It's one of the most feared cards in Legacy. But other than that, this is really just a value engine deck. This is everything Nickfoot always wanted to be, because all the creatures are going to provide so much value. And if you look at this, and speaking of value, right, when you think about elves, you think, oh, Wirewood Symbiote Elfish Visionary. Guess what? We're only playing a single Elfish Visionary and 3 copies of Wirewood Symbiote. This is not the kind of deck that you have to be afraid of just exploding in your face on turn 2. But this is the kind of deck you have to be afraid of grinding you out pretty hard with just Fiend Artisan. That's another big addition to the deck.
Right. So against Naya Depths, which is going to be, some ability to grind, but also presenting Merit Laser as a threat, this new Elves deck is going to be probably, I would surmise, that worse off than the previous version.
Yeah, I would say against a lot of decks where the matchup is a little more on the 2 ships passing in the night camp, this is worse off, but it does have ways to fight it, right? So we see Elfish Reclaimer is able to get Caracas, which would be a big thing. You technically also have access to a position agent starting from probably turn 3. The downside, of course, is you get it through Fiend Artisan most of the time, so it's going to give it away since Fiend Artisan can only be activated as a sorcery. You have ways to fight it, and starting with our turn 1 Elfish Reclaimer is certainly going to help there. Wait, there's a... Why do we see a Lano Elves on the other side of the board?
Well, I mean...
Oh, I got it wrong. Okay, so Elves actually started with the Lano Elves, and Naya Depth started with Reclaimer, which is like, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, that's a little bit worse for Elves, because now Elves is gonna take at least one more turn to find Caracas. And that's also, like, of course, not all that reliable when your opponent has the potential to find Wasteland to kill it before it ever becomes active. So it's not as chess-esque as something like, Death and Taxes against these Naya decks would be, but Elves has some play. The downside, of course, is that it's very telegraphed and very easy to spot. There's almost no instant speed things that Elves can do except for Opposition Agent. And then we will see how it turns out after sideboarding. But right now, I very much like Naya Depth's position here, even though, of course, we have to see what the hand of Naya actually offers.
Okay, so we see both sides zenithing for an Arbor to go alongside a Reclaimer. And Rodney here with the Cradle to power out the... I love... Yeah, so we cut all the Elves out of the Elf deck, but we added Llanowar Elves in.
Yeah, we also added Elfish Spirit Guides.
Yeah, of course.
That's one of the most recent additions. It gets the deck further up again on the Elves count. I think previously it used to play only like 12 Elves at times. But we shall see. Naming conventions right now are
tribal entity. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're not going to find any Merfolk decks with 8 Merfolk in it. What is going on here?
Yeah, but the thing is, Merfolks all suck on their
own.
I
know.
Whereas with Elves, Newton Hang, he put out a very controversial statement that Twitter then quickly disagreed with. He said that Fiend Artisan is literally the best 2-drop in Legacy. Do you agree?
Wow.
Maybe we can put Fiend Artisan on coverage here so people can see it. That's quite the card.
Best 2-drop in Legacy?
I mean, my money is on Thalia and Thassa's Oracle.
Yeah,
yeah,
I was going to say Oracle seems... I mean, this is a nice card.
Doomwick is saying Murktide best 2-drop. Yeah, honorary 2-drop, I guess. It even dodges Abrupt Decay.
Yeah, that's a nice feature for your 2-drop, sure.
Yeah.
All right, so Reclaimer.
Devin sacrifices Flagstones of Joker, gets the double, basically 2 lands out of it, out of the deal. One of the best value plays. So satisfying to do. Proactively gets the Wasteland because well, it depends. We either want to go after the Cradle, or Devin is aware that there's a potential that Rodney could have something like Caracas that we will eventually have to deal with if we want to go the Dark Depths route. So yeah, let's see.
All right, so Boseiju in hand for Rodney. It looks like he's lining up, takes out the Wasteland, so wants to protect his Cradle then, if he's doing this preemptively.
I mean, if you think the Cradle is going to do good things for you, it's hard to see how many cards Rodney has in hand right now. Then you probably need to do this. On the other hand, of course, Boseiju also a great way to try to interrupt the Dark Depth combo, right? So let's see. To me, that would like telegraph that we are hoping to do something good with the Cradle next turn, but yeah. So that's the farthest we can actually read into this action.
Yeah, so that may give the Depths deck the impetus to actually find another Wasteland here with the Reclaimer and take out the Cradle anyway.
Yeah, for example, right? If you wanted to make a really deep read, we would say something like Natural Order, even though I didn't fully pay attention whether we already had Order mana available. Okay, and there it goes.
Yeah, Ramda Excavator allows the Wasteland to replay from the graveyard, takes out the Cradle.
Yeah, and over the next 2 turns, our other 2 lands are also going to be picked off here. That's one of the downsides of this deck. You know, traditional Elves was already like somewhat vulnerable to having its mana attacked. This one even more so. This is actually the kind of version that people at this point also cite in like Blood Moons and stuff.
All right, second Arbor off the fetch line here. So 2 Arbors, 2 Symbiotes. Can we put together a Natural Warrior here? Well, there's one in hand.
Okay, with what we have on board right now. Okay, now we can. And that's an attack for 24. And that should do it, right? We got 4 points of blockers. Yeah. Unless Devin has anything else, we're just going to attack for 24 here.
Oh, there you go. There it is.
Got there.
Yeah, wow.
See, this is I want to say this is one of the biggest difference compared to traditional mid-range decks. Elves can sometimes still blow you out, or at least this version, even though it's, the ability to do that is very toned down. It's still there, and that's just like what we saw in action here.
Yeah, well, it's another grindy deck that just has a combo finish. This is a theme for the day, apparently. All right, so we'll move over to Modern here, and we've got well, I don't think we have Azorius control. At least that's not what it looks like with Ren and 6 in play and Leyline Binding.
Yeah, it looks like we're
the list here a little bit. Yeah, this looks more like I understand the confusion because Jabbour normally plays blue-white control. In fact, this does have a lot of the elements of, you know what this is? This is blue-white control splashing Ren and 6.
That's pretty much what I see here, right?
Actually, what the deck is.
We're literally splashing 2 colors.
Yep. This is blue control splashing Ren and 6. Okay. Versus the Yawgmoth deck, which is currently without a board presence.
So, Joe, help me out here. I was told that the Yawgmoth deck got a lot better after the banning of Yorion in Modern. Is that the case?
Well, I have not independently come to that conclusion, but I guess we would think this through. That would, I guess, depend on whether... So it's going to depend on... I mean, obviously the Yawgmoth deck's not going to have changed. So that's just going to be based on the matchups and what it's good against and what it's bad against. Yawgmoth is going to be obviously happy to play against random creature nonsense, especially when blocking matters. So there's going to be, in lieu of just there being fewer 4-color control decks, which I don't even necessarily know if there's going to be fewer of them, that they're going to be.
Or maybe actually, let me phrase it this way. The way I remember it being told was that all these Cascade decks, right? Those Rhino Cascade decks and stuff, that they used to be good against the control decks, and they don't want to play against the Yawgmoth decks. I guess that makes it the other way around, right? So if Yawgmoth is gone, then the Cascade decks are a little bit worse, and they don't want to play against the Yawgmoth decks in the first place. I'm trying to find reasons why I want to play the Yawgmoth deck. I have a reasonably big team tournament coming up, and I might play the modern slot. And yeah, you know, this is just like my kind of charm, like small little creatures that work together to produce something bigger than the sum of its parts, and that's what I see in the Yawgmoth deck.
Well, certainly I could understand how the Yawgmoth deck would have some issues with exile removal and against the control decks in general, because the 4-color decks do have a lot of exile removal. So does George Jabbour's blue-white control deck here. So this then, if your knowledge is correct, then I think it would apply here as well, as this is effectively a more controlling version of the 4-color control decks.
Who out controls the control deck? Okay.
Yeah. Well, generally it's going to be whatever seat George Jabbour is playing in, as he likes his Days Undoing Narset, and they are present in this list as well.
Is that backbreaking, as backbreaking as it is in Legacy here? Like, I mean, right now we don't really see too much on the other side of the board. So if you could do something like Narset and drop Days Undoing immediately, then we're up against a Grist and a little bit of like mana, and that's pretty much it. I mean, that must win the game. I mean, I can see the allure of that, right? 6 mana win the game.
Sure. Yeah, especially when you have, well, one of the cards at least is okay on its own. I guess Teferi plus Days Undoing is fine on its own, and Narset is okay at worst. It's just, you know, sort of an impulse. So yeah, I mean, George Jabbour is playing this combination of cards in basically every format. He's playing in Pioneer, Modern, whatever he's playing in. He's lately, the last, you know, throughout the summer, he has been playing Narset and Days Undoing. And he's been doing well. Even though he said when he played in Pioneer, he thought he wasn't really confident, but he did well anyway. Here's Yawgmoth.
So how much do you, for example, if you're looking for a deck, how much do you trust the opinion of somebody who literally plays the same deck in every single format? But when it comes to them telling you, oh, this deck is well positioned in this format?
I mean, if they're telling me it's well positioned in one format and they think it's not so great in the other one, then I think, okay, I'll believe what you're saying. If they're just telling me, okay, this combo just wrecks everything, well, then maybe they're just obsessed with the combo and they're not rational. I don't know.
I think somebody once told me that don't trust them too much on how well positioned the deck is, but trust them on how to build the deck if you want to build the deck.
Sure. Okay.
Or maybe not trust them, but give them more credit than you would otherwise.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty cool way to look at it.
All right. So Leyline Binding's on a pair of Yawgmoths here. Ren 6 stands alone versus Grist. I mean, Leyline Binding is a very nice card. If you're, I mean, how much mana are we paying for it here? Are we playing 2?
At best,
I believe.
So is there any way to get a swamp to play? Like if the opponent has an Urborg at some point?
Well,
I mean, we already have a swamp, right? Or is it?
I mean,
like,
what's the leftmost land on George Jabbour's? Is that a Xander's Lounge? It might be. In which case, he's got the black anyway.
I was thinking the same. Yeah, it must be a Xander's Lounge. There's one present in the deck list. Do we even have any black cards here? Let me check this out.
Not a chance.
No, not even in the sideboard, right? Yeah. It's literally just there to make our removal spell better. I like it.
Yeah.
You mentioned it earlier, right? How people will sometimes do that. I mean, it's a cycle land. There's also like a slight upside later in the game.
Absolutely. I mean, you can have your splashed Xander's Lounge recurred by your splashed Ren 6 for card advantage. Yeah, you're good. But it is kind of crazy that this Xander's Lounge is being played only for I mean, it's a splash cycle land that doesn't even cast your splash card because it doesn't even tap for red and green, just red.
That's true.
I mean, I guess it taps for one of your main colors also, but still, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. Here's Yawgmoth number 3 for Ashe Johnson, and well, Ashe looking good because the team is up in the other 2 formats, but probably not feeling great about this game itself. And here is a verdict. So the insect can be cashed in for a card. That's something.
So is there any way that the Yawgmoth deck is going to get rid of those leyline bindings? Because that would be huge.
I mean, you would think that might be possible, but let's take a look. Is there Boseiju? There are 2 Boseiju.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something. That looks like it, though, because we're still in game 1.
It just feels like always, when you are playing against a control deck, one of those things is if you're behind and both players are already sitting on a bunch of mana and reasonably equal cards, it's always kind of hard to get back into the match with these some bigger than their parts kind of decks.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, George right now is just like happy and like, yeah, you sure you got all these like limited cards and
right. I mean, that's the way it always looks when the Yawgmoth deck isn't winning. I mean, its cards look terrible.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, the one thing that's keeping it somewhat together is the Grist, right? Because the Grist eventually can take out the Wren if needed. And now that we got a bunch of creatures to make that work. Like if the Grist leaves the battlefield here, like our entire board falls apart pretty much.
Yeah, Grist is excellent, but it's the only thing here. I mean, I don't know how many creatures are in Ashe's graveyard. The fact that there's 2 leyline bindings doesn't help either. But Grist Ultimate, it's at 5, right? Well, okay.
Yeah,
George isn't going to let that happen. Yeah.
It just feels like when you're playing one of these decks, that's at least been my experience, you want to put the control player on the back foot so they constantly have to like answer one more thing that they really want to answer, so they don't even get time, to play out their planeswalkers and make use of them. And I mean, this is already like looking pretty cool. Like it seems like we have like a never-ending stream of cards to do something. And I mean, that's one way to get the control deck and hope that they like flood out or draw the wrong cards. And now we assembled.
Yeah,
but we can't say the combo, right? There's no game-ending combo in these Yawgmoth decks, but just like value engine.
Yeah, not this time around. Sometimes there can be, but yeah, here picking up this all. This is the last Yawgmoth, by the way, but this one is going to generate quite a bit of good. Ashe is going to benefit a number of cards here.
The last Yawgmoth.
Yeah,
is it going to survive? The last of its kind.
Well, it's definitely not going to survive. In fact, it's but a lot accomplished there. A 2/2 Yawgmoth would be nice if it had an extra power, but that's not how it works. But Ashe just picked up, I think, 3 cards.
Yeah, we're still like sitting on a full grip on Ashe's side of the board. And you mentioned Boseiju, right? And there's 2 in the main deck. So that's one way to get basically our 5th Yawgmoth kind of into play.
Here is another activation of Grist. Apotra gets milled over. And, Ashe, like, she's not totally out of this. There's okay, that's a card I was going to mention. Jarl's Messenger takes another chunk out of George's life total. And that's not one that you can Supreme Verdict very easily.
It's one of those like super sticky, annoying cards.
Yeah.
There's a second. Oh no, the Blood Artist. Okay. Dude, I already love this deck, man.
Well, now Supreme Verdict isn't looking, super great at all. And this Renin 6 is, kind of has to keep going after this Grist. I imagine that the Grist Ultimate is lethal at this point, as I think George is at 8 at most.
Yeah, there's just like too many creatures in the yard pretty soon.
And this Jarl's Messenger trigger happened.
I wonder if at some point, we get to a point where we proactively just like put counters on our Wall of Roots just to like get it to the graveyard quicker.
I mean, well, yeah, now that there's Blood Artist in play, yeah, that seems reasonable. Yeah, George's life total is at 6.
I mean, those walls aren't gonna do all that much else.
No, there's plenty of mana in play. You're right. And I mean, the reason to keep them around would be to sacrifice them to Yawgmoth, but there are no more Yawgmoths.
Yeah. Okay, what is this gonna bounce? It's gonna like bounce blood. Like there's even I was gonna say we could technically bounce off our leyline bindings. I'm not sure what the
I thought about that too, but yeah, I don't think that can happen because then Ashe would convert just into more things into cards, and Jarl's Messenger gets bounced. All right. See what other plans George has here. I mean, if he can counter it on the way back down, that would be fine. Here's Narset. Okay. If there's a Days Undoing here, well, that's a very strong turn. Obviously. Or maybe he's looking for one.
The thing is, if we cast Days Undoing here, do we still like win? Like we need to draw something like.
Oh, we would die to the Grist, wouldn't we? Unless if Ren 6, I don't think Ren 6 has been activated yet for the turn, but Leyline Binding can take out the Grist anyway.
Like hats off to Ashe. That's a real game. When we came in, I thought this was just like maybe over at some point, but like this is a very, very real game right now. I love it.
All right, so now with Grist not a problem. Yep, now the Ren 6 doesn't have to go after Grist anymore, so Blood Artist gets nailed. So there's 3 power in play and no blockers, and that's half of George's life total. And we know the Messenger's in hand, so that's 2 more points of damage. So let's see. I mean, Jarl's Messenger plus a way to sacrifice it would do it.
I mean, if we put a counter on the Wall of Roots right now and then on our turn, that dies.
Well, we don't have Blood Artist anymore.
Oh, true. That's gone. That's gone. We're going to draw another one. You know what I want to draw here? Maelstrom Pearls.
Yeah. That'd be pretty good. Okay. George's life total actually at 5. Yeah. So this Yawgmoth should be untapped unless I missed something, which is, I suppose, possible.
It happens, really?
More often than I would like, yeah.
So that's an Undying counter on the Yawgmoth, right? So we can attack for 3, I believe?
Yeah. So this is
lethal with the Sheriff's Messenger.
Yeah, if George has nothing here.
Oh yeah, true.
But he's got some cards. A blocker or a removal spell or a counter spell, and Ashe is like, is this gonna resolve?
And that's it.
I don't think Ashe had a lot of confidence there putting that on the stack, but George was like, yeah, I don't have anything. And that's it. So Ashe will, oh my gosh, and the match is done. All right, so Bill Comminos and Rodney Bedell just cleaned house on Marty, Sliwinski, and Devin Slater. And that is the end of the match. So Ashe Johnson, representing the team, wins the game. And we'll see if we can find one of those players to talk to. In the meantime, while they're picking things up, that was a quick round.
Dude, so, I want to play the Yawgmoth deck. I don't know.
Well, I was just gonna say, you're already talking about you're looking for things to convince you to play or to not play the Yawgmoth deck. I mean, what do we think there? I mean, that was like you're saying, that didn't look very good, and the deck recovered.
Yeah, the one thing I'm also considering is the Andrea Mengucci put out an article about some kind of 4 or 5 color Vivian combo deck, and he made it look like really appealing. Like you can literally win out of. Have you seen that where you can like literally win out of nowhere with that 6 mana Planeswalker? You need Vivian and any 3-drop. And then you can basically go down some kind of Kiki-Chiki combo. You sacrifice that with Vivian's ability. You get a 4-drop, which blinks Vivian. Then you get Karmic Guide, get Kiki-Chiki. And that looked really appealing. But now, after seeing this Yawgmoth deck in action, dude, I just love scrappy stuff that eventually just gets there. All the more power to it if it has acceleration. I see it has like 8 pieces of acceleration. Oh, I'm down, man.
Well, you don't have to convince me. Well, I mean, Yawgmoth deck looks impressive. Anything with Karma Guide, though, I mean, I don't know how you give that up. My very first Star City top 8 was with Karma Guide.
The thing is, when Karmic Guide is playable, it's usually like super busted. Like, most decks of Karmic Guide I've ever seen, they immediately lead to a ban, whether it's like Flash or what have you.
Yeah, that was 11 years ago though. When I mean, it's amazing. Okay, so let's uh I just got a note from production. Let's veto that. Let's not do that. Um, but the amount of time that's passed, like Magic has like real history to it now. I know we have MTG 30 celebration next week in Las Vegas, I think. But just thinking back on like, for the two of us who have been, and people that have been around for a long time, I mean, it's now been, a decade or more since, I really have like significant tournament memories of Magic. And I think the same goes for you, right?
Well, it depends. I kind of retired from being crazy competitive in 2018. Up until then, I literally played all the big legacy events in Europe. I think I played more than anyone. I can very confidently say that.
Mhm.
Ever since, it's much more about content creation for me and just like playing events for fun, which
Mhm.
is also is like its very own appeal.
Mhm.
So yeah, I've enjoyed both sides of the life.
Yeah, no, me too. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was into the streaming thing for a while, and I kind of, obviously strayed away from that. But then now we have this Nerd Rage stuff taking up, plenty of time. But yeah, just the ability to like look back on, a lot of history, not just, for me personally as a player, but for the game. Um, it's
I
really
mean,
impressive.
it's
Like, it's
yeah.
kind of incredible that like, I mean, at what I feel like for 25 years, people have been saying like Magic's probably got like 2 or 3 years left, and then it's just done. And that's just been something you could say constantly.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think that's like the doom and gloom and like, oh, Magic is dying, Magic is dying.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's already a meme at this point, right? Magic is
yeah,
dying.
yeah, sure.
What I find interesting is that we are entering the phase where a lot of people have very fond memories of not the beginning of Magic, but more like the middle years of Magic or something. And now we
Mhm.
see formats like pre-modern, right? That's the big custom community
Yeah,
format that took off.
I have heard I have seen a few like on Twitter. I see a few references to pre-modern, and I don't know anyone that's involved in it. But so pre-modern is just it's the exact opposite of modern, right? It's everything before modern.
Yeah, it's everything before modern, and I think it also like it excludes the very beginning of Magic, so the first couple of years.
Okay.
It doesn't have fetch lands, which makes the mana basis a little bit. Actually, it does have fetch lands, but it doesn't have dual lands. I hope I'm not eating my words, but I think it doesn't have dual lands. Yeah, you play stuff like Yawgmoth coast and stuff.
Okay.
So it's in this middle section, and a lot of currently still active players are very nostalgic for that, and that's why
Mhm.
they poured into modern and into pre-modern, and that's why, unlike a lot of other custom formats that take off for like half a year, pre-modern has actually been around for many years now, and I think this year has seen the biggest growth ever. And I think part of that is a lot of people just like wanting to go back to that, just like with old school, like 5 years ago or something when it became a thing. A lot of people were nostalgic for the very beginnings of the format, like the first
Mhm.
couple of years. So I would guess, like, if you want to make some bets or speculate, buy stuff from the years, I don't know, 2010, 12, 13, because maybe in a couple of years, people are going to be nostalgic for that and going to make a mid-modern, what have you. I don't know.
Sure, maybe, or maybe it'll be a pre-pioneer. Maybe it just,
Pre-pioneer.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Yeah, it's definitely, yeah. I'm curious. I don't really know much about pre-modern other than that it exists, but certainly there's ample track record of kind of player or fan made formats that like rise up and then don't all last too long. Even or it's not just fan made. Wizards has that too. Like we had the what was Tiny Leaders was like the commander with like I think that was a version of Commander, right? And that lasted. That even had official support, and it lasted for not very long.
Wasn't there
Uh,
a format called Frontier that doesn't lasted for
yeah,
like a week or
that
two?
sounds right. I mean, something like that. Yeah, there's been director David was just telling us about Brawl, and that sounds like it might have been a format also. I don't even remember what that was. That a form of Commander also?
I think
Yeah,
Gavin Verhey played it with a couple of his friends.
yeah, okay. So I mean,
Yeah,
yes,
but I
but
mean,
it's
some of them. That's actually the one of the topics for my next podcast on Everyday Eternal. We're gonna speak about what makes these formats a mainstay and
mhm,
why other formats were more like a fad that went away, after half a year or something.
sure.
Just because I was so impressed by pre-modern this year. There was a European Championship for pre-modern, and I think they had 128 slots. and it literally sold out in the first hour. And they
Really?
probably could have sold like a couple hundred more. There was so much interest in that.
Wow. That's impressive. I mean, so if that overlaps, because like I have fond memories, although it may be just because that's what I remember as like my formative, like, PTQ season stuff of Extended back a
I knew
long
you were
time
going
ago.
to say that.
Yeah, right. No, I'm sure some other people did too. And so that probably lines up at least somewhat well. I mean, there probably got to be some of the same cards that were good in old Extended as are good in pre-modern
Yeah,
now.
yeah. I think the old extended goes back a little bit further. You also have
Maybe.
dual
Yeah.
lands in the old extended, even
Right.
though they were like by a special admission in that.
Right.
But yeah, in pre-modern you also have Oath, right? Mark Vogt, winner of the last Legacy GP, he also won the European Legacy Championships, and he played Oath. He played Parfait Oath, and that's one of the strategies. Probably the best strategy in the format, other than Oath or Parfait Oath, is Elves, survival Elves. There's a Spanish guy. I'm so sorry, I'm blanking on the name right now. But if you Google pre-modern elves, you're going to come across him like immediately. He plays an all-foil elf deck. I think it's even all signed, and that's just like another thing what people do in these old formats, right? And he's completely destroying everything. And he was actually in the finals against Mark. I literally predicted those two guys to be the finals of that tournament, and it came true. And sometimes that speaks to the format when you can actually predict the players that make it all the way.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, maybe that shows that only a few people have experience in the format and everyone else is just learning.
That's true. That's true. There's certainly decks where I feel like, oh, well, I don't know whether I would play that.
But maybe that's just getting started. Yeah. So if you're just joining in, yeah, we're between rounds. We have fairly lengthy delays in between team event rounds anyway. And in this particular case, the round finished very quickly. So Julian and I are just basically just talking back and forth. And eventually we'll go to a break before round 5 pops up. But if you are curious, we are playing Modern Legacy Pioneer today. Devin O'Donnell will be around a little while to take home the last few rounds of the day with us. And then we'll have the end of the Swiss in the quarterfinals this afternoon. And then tomorrow morning, we'll have the semifinals and finals, and then the beginning of the Modern 5K. Let's take a moment here and go through some of the other NRG events coming up through the rest of the year. This is the first event of the season 3 quartet of events. So you can see here, we're in Newark, Ohio. We've got 2 events coming up in November, Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Mundelein, Illinois. You can see the formats there, including in Mundelein, our first 10K Pioneer event. And then the Showdown in Louisville in December, which originally was announced as part of NebulaCon. NebulaCon itself was canceled. The NRG event will go on at the same venue, and that is the Showdown. So the significance of the Showdown is that the winner goes directly into the Midrange Championship to join the other eventually 15 players. I believe we have 11. Let me think about that. I believe it's 9. 9 slots locked up at the moment. There you can see the 9 players that are already qualified. Ivan Espinosa, who won the championship last year. Piper Powell, who won the Season 1 Showdown. The Season 1 at-large points invites went to Joseph Bernal and Andrew Ella-Mogan. Season 2 Showdown was a team event. Connor Mullally, Theo Jung, and Max Komanowski took that down. And the Season 2 points invites went to Jesse Robkin and Zach Duman. So we've got 7 spots left to give away. We have the Season 3 Showdown. We have the Season 3 at-large bids, and then 4 overall at-large entrants to complete the field. So we're excited to fill up those spots, I think, towards the end of the year. Let's pop up the leaderboard so you can see who's actually in contention to lock up these at-large slots at the end of the year. The Season 3 leaderboard doesn't exist yet, as this is the first weekend of the season. So everyone's starting at 0, but the overall year leaderboard, you can see the players already qualified there on the leaderboard: Jesse Robkin, Joseph Bernal, Piper Powell, Andrew Ellenbogen, Connor Mullally, and Zach Dubin. So out of the players eligible to pick up these last slots, and there will be 4 of them. So currently, that would be Zoe Riederman, Zach Allen, Will Kowalczyk, and Will Kruger, last season's MVP, just hanging on to the last slot ahead of Max McVitie. But 4 events, including this weekend, or 4 weekends to add to that, which is 8 events total. So lots of points still to be earned, lots of shifting around in the leaderboard, and any of these players on this list, and probably some that are not even on the list. We're only, from the last current invite at 87 points to the last name on this top 20 is only 16 points. That is just over half of winning a showdown, I believe. So certainly any of these names could finish on, as well as people that are not even on the leaderboard could come up and take a spot away. We are, however, this weekend, we're playing the team event, the Team 10K event, or we believe of the prize pool. If you're curious what the players are playing for, what's on the line, you can see here the money, the points, as well as all 3 players of the winning team will earn invites to the first DreamHack event of next year, which I believe the location is not yet to be announced, although it has been announced that it's going to be standard. The winner of the Modern 5K tomorrow will also earn an invite. So, yeah, the slots are available. There's the payout for tomorrow. The Julian, what do you think about this? Now, it's not, I say DreamHack, and for viewers outside of America, your regional championships aren't at DreamHack. They're at, yours is at something called Legacy, right?
Oh, don't get me started on that.
All right.
There's a tournament organizer called Legacy in Europe, which has led to some confusion because I think I think it's called the European Legacy Championship. What would you expect if you go to a European Legacy Championship?
Yeah, I would not expect Pioneer, but I bet that's what it is.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly you need to play. I think you mentioned Pioneer, but there's been some confusion. They tried to clean it up. I think they have an FAQ section, but allegedly there have been Legacy players to the Legacy ones, and they were quite surprised that their deck was legal.
Yeah, I would imagine. But this is something that is this of like well, in my community here in Southern California, I mean, a lot of the players, the former tournament players, this is what they're trying to do now is qualify for the regional championships. Is this something in Germany? Is this something that people actually are pursuing, or is this kind of off to the wayside? It's not got much traction so far.
No, it certainly has traction. They have had events all over Europe. I think there was the last one might have been in Paris, I believe. So people are certainly pursuing that. But that's basically the crowd that already used to be dedicated to the grind, like in the whole pre-COVID area and stuff. Yeah. And those people are picking up again and trying to make their way up the new ladder that Wizards has created. And that's very much a thing. The thing that we don't have right now is like a tournament series like we used to have. That's third-party organized. But we're working on that. And I mean, we already have the European Legacy Masters, which is only for Legacy. But the finals are going to be in Bologna by December early. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be playing in the team event. I'm going to be playing in the individual event. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And that's an invite, or not an invite, but a qualification event by how many people per country get to play in that?
So it depends.
Is this that one, or is this something else? That was something else.
Yeah. For this one, we had in Germany we had 4 invitation slots, and we had basically the tournament organizer of all the regional tournaments vote for what our 4 representatives are going to be, and those are going to be Mark Vogt, Kai Sabatari, Jörg Heinrich, and me. So we're gonna be repping the German colors there. I think most of the other countries, they already had something like either a regional championship or some other way to pick their representatives. And this year is just the I can't call it the trial run because this is the actual thing. But next year it's gonna start that we're gonna have dedicated qualifiers for the European Legacy Masters in all the countries all around Europe. So yeah, we're very excited for that, and I'm also super excited to see the one in December play out. And I mean, maybe I'm gonna win. It's probably gonna be the hardest tournament I've ever played in.
Yeah, that's very well, especially with a smaller field. Yeah, that's very cool. I don't know that it would be neat to have something like that in the US, but I don't know that there's much. Well, to start with, I would guess, although I really don't know the answer to this, I would guess that people have more pride in their country than people in America do have in their state. So, like if you said, I'm going to try and represent Germany at this event, that seems like a cool thing. If I was going to try to represent California, it doesn't seem as significant. But I don't know. Maybe it's the same. I don't know.
Well, it depends. Like, obviously, it's going to be up to the individual what you really care about. For me, it's more interesting because it gives even more incentive for viewers, right? You can root for your own guy. That's one thing because it's going to be streamed. As an individual player, it's just going to be a tournament like any tournament. Because most of my friends are going to be rooting for me anyway. Unless I'm up against them, then hopefully they're Well, maybe they're still rooting for me. I don't know, but it's just like this added flavor of like being the European Championship, and that's kind of cool, and that's what I'm excited for. It's happening at Four Seasons Bologna, which is another tournament series. So we're piggybacking on top of that.
Yeah, cool. Just like the regional championship here is piggybacking on top of DreamHack, which is I've never been to a DreamHack. This will be my first one, but my understanding is that it's a pretty big affair for all kinds of games. Mostly
definitely
computer games, I think, not so much paper games. Magic might be.
I was gonna say, don't you need to bring something like this for a DreamHack?
Yeah, yeah, I think you do. They can have they have tickets where you just like bring your own computer ticket, so you can just show up and play whatever game with.
I used to know DreamHack as like the big thing for like StarCraft events and stuff. I think you watched those
Same
too.
Thing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I used to watch that also. But times change, and they are de-teching down to Magic from StarCraft. I don't know. Anyway,
I mean, Magic is teched out, very teched out. It just doesn't look like it.
Yeah, certainly not right now. It does not look like it as we sit here in pixelated our pixelated best. Anyway, thanks for watching. For enjoying the content, give us a follow. We are going to step away until round 5 is ready to go. Devin O'Donnell will be in here for the last couple rounds. Julian, thanks for being here. As always, you're tremendous. If you guys are looking to hear from him, you can find it's Everyday Eternal podcast. Is that right?
Yeah, it's at Eternal MTG on Twitter. You can find me at it's Julian23 on Twitch, on Twitter, and you can find me on It's Julian on Twitter. Dude, Joe, I gotta get a single handle for all of my socials. This is ridiculous. You can find me if you want to find me. I'm pretty sure Julian Knapp. It's Julian.
I'm sure they'll be able to. You just put his name in Google, you'll find him. Anyway, thanks for being here. And for everyone sticking around, thanks for watching. We'll be back in a few minutes with round 5.